Right, everyone, the news has broken. I'm sure everybody's seen it. UFC undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. Moving forward, very, very important to me, just that I acknowledge everybody quickly who has supported me in this. I'm not going to say it was a tough time, but a bit of a challenging time over like the last kind of 10, 11 months that I have been.
I guess the clarifying question then is, if Dana and Hunter do come to you after this fight, the figures make sense to you, would you then be open to fighting Tom Aspinall, or are you categorically thinking, he does nothing for me, I will not fight that guy?
He does nothing for me. He does nothing for me. If you're a person that wants to see me really challenged, then
Tom Aspinall is now the undisputed UFC heavyweight champion, but you'd be forgiven if you missed it. No grand announcement, not even a handshake from Dana White. Just a 3 a.m. group text and a throwaway mention during a random press conference. And somehow, the UFC wants you to believe that's how a new king should be crowned.
Whether it takes the fight or you're going to strip him, what do you think is more important? To keep the belt there so he can uphold his legacy, or we move the heavyweight division, take the title away from him?
John Jones called us last night and retired. John Jones is officially retired. Tom Aspinall is the heavyweight champion of the UFC.
Imagine training your entire life, fighting through injuries, setbacks, and short-notice wars, only to find out you became the undisputed UFC heavyweight champion through a random group text at 3 a.m. That's exactly what happened to Tom Aspinall. No call from Dana White, no Vegas spotlight. Just a message from Hunter Campbell in the middle of the night while Dana casually dropped the bomb during a press conference in Azerbaijan.
Since I won that fight, he's gone completely quiet, and he'll continue to go completely quiet about me until he retires, because there's no way on earth that he's going to fight me. Not a chance. I will retire John Jones without even fighting him.
His dad, Andy Aspinall, didn't hold back. He called the UFC's handling of Tom's crowning moment the worst way possible, slamming the organization for showing zero respect to a fighter who stepped up when they needed him most. This wasn't just any belt. This was supposed to be the ultimate payoff for years of sacrifice, and it was treated like an afterthought. Fans were furious. How the hell do you screw up a championship announcement this badly? But that late-night text was just the beginning of the chaos.
Tom Aspinall's the guy. He's the guy.
Dana White says I'm his man. We love that. We love that on the channel.
And what about Francis Ngannou? You having him? You want some?
The day that I start ducking out of fights and turning opponents down and stuff like that is the day that I'm going to retire. So,
the guy wants to retire and doesn't want to fight, nothing you do. I didn't want Habib to retire. I thought DC should have stayed in it longer. So it's none of my business. I'll do what I can to make the fight if we can. If he's talking that crazy shit, I didn't realize that.
Dana White casually walked into a post-fight press conference in Baku and dropped one of the biggest announcements in UFC history like it was no big deal. John Jones has officially retired, and Tom Aspinall is now the undisputed heavyweight champion. Not even a spotlight moment for Tom. And just like that, the most stacked division in combat sports had a new king. But it felt more like a scheduling update than a coronation.
How do you intend to get one of these guys to actually fight you?
The heavyweight division is in probably the best spot it's been in for a while. Yeah, there's definitely a bit of a jam up at the top.
Yeah.
You know, it's stuck a little bit. As soon as John Jones decides what he's doing, is he even fighting Stipe at this point?
Well, I think they're going to fight in New York.
That's what they say, but I don't see any contracts being signed or anything announced, so we don't actually.
The UFC didn't even bother to alert Tom directly beforehand. His friends had to text him to check if the news was real. Think about that. A career-defining achievement broadcast to the world before the actual fighter knew. This isn't how champions are crowned. This is how you announce a canceled weigh-in. It was messy, impersonal, and left fans feeling robbed of what should have been a historic moment. And if you think that was unprofessional, wait until you see what happened next.
Tom Aspinall's the guy. Listen, if the guy wants to retire and doesn't want to fight, nothing you do. It's none of my business. I'll do what I can to make the fight if we can. If he's talking that crazy, I didn't realize that.
I mean, I just feel like anybody would understand at this point. I'll retire the heavyweight belt if I have to. It's like, dude, give the guy what he wants at the end of the day, And I'm not talking to Dana directly. I feel like I'm at a place now where, I want to.
After months of silence, injury delays, and vague social media posts, Dana White confirmed the one thing fans feared and critics expected. John was done with a quiet exit, leaving the belt behind like it was never his problem. And the timing? Suspicious, to say the least. DC himself called it out, saying if John truly wanted greatness, he'd have faced Tom Aspinall. But he didn't. He chose the door.
Me too, but
The guy is living his best life. He's had a fantastic career, we all know. We know John's a religious man, so I want to say God bless him moving forward in what he does with his life and his career. And you know, we move on. We move on.
Because when you fought legends like DC and Glover, but suddenly retire, the moment a 30-year-old knockout artist with elite speed steps up, people notice. Especially when Tom had already stepped in on 2 weeks' notice and destroyed Pavlovich. That wasn't an interim title performance. That was a champion-level demolition. And yet, Jones stayed silent, gave no real explanation, and walked before the biggest fight of his heavyweight legacy could ever happen. And Tom, he didn't even get the chance to prove it in the cage.
If I'm being completely honest, I feel like Tom's been such an asshole that I don't want to do business with him. You know, it's just like his fans have been so annoying. And obviously you don't get this far in a career being affected by fans or whatnot. But he's just an asshole, you know, with his, you know, he's...
Just minutes after Dana White casually announced Jon Jones's retirement, the Albuquerque Journal dropped a bombshell that made everything a whole lot messier. A fresh criminal summons had been filed against Jon, accusing him of leaving the scene of an accident back in February. This wasn't the first time Jon's name popped up next to a hit-and-run headline, and suddenly, fans started putting the pieces together. Was this why he retired? Was this quiet exit less about legacy and more about damage control?
Jon, in my opinion, if you look at his body of work over the last 15 years, he's like as close as you can get to perfection as possible. He's like 37, 38 years old, but not only that, he's got 1,000,000 miles on the clock. So he's got a lot of damage on the body. He's took a lot of shots to the head. And that's not me saying anything negative about it. That's the reality of it. And I'm sure Jon Jones is aware of that.
Dana claimed he had no idea about the charges at the time, but the timing couldn't have been worse. Retirement news on a Saturday, legal trouble hitting the press on Sunday. And it raised a brutal question. Was Jon walking away from the cage or from accountability? For a guy who's built his brand around being the best ever, the way he exited felt more like a cover-up than a curtain call. And the UFC? They just kept their heads down, letting it all play out with zero clarity or statement.
So I'm not ducking Tom Aspinall. If I failed to fight Stipe, I would be ducking Stipe because we contractually have been signed up to fight over a year ago. This is Stipe's position. The Tom narrative came out of nowhere. He won a belt, and now suddenly I'm ducking him. I've never had negotiations to even fight him, if this makes sense.
While the UFC sat on its hands trying to figure out how to spin Jon Jones's retirement, Tom Aspinall was already back in the gym looking for his next kill. For him, it's not about politics or protecting a record. It's about fighting. And that's exactly what this stagnant division has needed for over a year. While Jon nursed injuries and made vague promises from halfway across the world, contenders were forced to sit still, fans got bored, and momentum died. Tom's arrival brings energy, clarity, and urgency. He's not playing the waiting game. He's trying to restore the fire to the most iconic division in UFC history. And finally, the other heavyweights are seeing a path forward. The era of excuses is over, and Tom's ready to put the entire weight class back on notice.
Can you settle it once and all for fans? They want to know, are you retired or not? Oh, man.
Be sure to check out Dirty Boxing 2 tomorrow night.
Because I think you'll be back. What's the magic number to get you back?
If you come to Dirty Boxing, you'll find out.
You'll find out. All right, cool.
For years, Jon Jones was untouchable, widely seen as the greatest of all time. A walking highlight reel with a resume no one could match. But in the eyes of many, his legacy cracked the moment he refused to fight Tom Aspinall. Analysts didn't hold back. DC called it out. And let's be real, this wasn't just about walking away. It was about what he walked away from. A young, dangerous heavyweight in his prime. Hungry and lethal. A matchup that would have defined Jones's reign at heavyweight. Instead, he bailed. And now, instead of going out in glory, he's being compared to a playground kid handing over his bike without a fight. The same Jon Jones who demanded respect, trashed opponents, and claimed GOAT status just stepped aside when the real challenge showed up, and that's why so many are rewriting his legacy. Not just because he left, but because of how he left. No final test, no closure. Just a quiet exit wrapped in controversy, while the man he avoided now walks tall with the title he never earned in the cage.
Now he's looking down at a young man, and it's like, he's not scared. Make no mistake about it. But I think it's enough to like question it. And you know what I think a big worry might be for him? Because with Aspinall, he could potentially get knocked out. Like legitimately knocked out and put on his back and out cold.
For nearly a year, the heavyweight division was frozen in time, all because the UFC refused to make a move. John Jones tore his pec in late 2023, and instead of stripping him or setting a clear path forward, the UFC played the waiting game. They dangled the belt, teased a Stipe fight that never happened, and left Tom Aspinall and every contender stuck in limbo. It wasn't just favoritism, it was sabotage. John had already made it clear that fighting Tom didn't excite him, and yet the UFC still gave him all the leverage.
John Jones wants 6 months. He wants 6 months to prepare for Aspinall. He wants 6 months. He can have them. How would I control it? How would anybody control it? John has the undisputed belt and that Tom has the interim belt. We all understand that these guys are going to fight now that we have that.
And when Tom finally got the belt, it wasn't because the UFC made a bold call. It was because they had no other option. Even Dana's language revealed it. John retired, so Tom's the champ. Just like that. It felt like John had been allowed to control the narrative from Thailand while Tom waited in silence, training for a fight that was never going to happen. The UFC didn't just delay the division, they disrespected it.
John Jones is probably watching this, so send him a message.
Hello, John. I have nothing against you personally, but I just think I'm better than you. I just know that I can beat you in a
Tom Aspinall didn't beg for the spotlight. He didn't duck fights. He stepped up when the UFC needed him most. But that disrespect didn't break him. It lit a fire. Now, Tom walks as the undisputed heavyweight champion, not just because John Jones walked away, but because he earned it when no one else would. The belt finally belongs to someone who's willing to defend it. So now the only question that matters is this: was John Jones really the greatest, or just the last man standing in a rigged game? Because while he vanished into retirement, Tom Aspinall is still here, reminding the world what a real champion looks like.